So this creator tells me that I should look up Andrew Wommack, the guy who supposedly brought his son back from the dead. Uh, so I did, right? And I didn't find any secular sources to back up the claim. I also didn't find any documentation written by any doctors. And so I brought it back to him, and I said, you know that your Andrew Womack is a liar, right? Because there's nothing to support his claim, and he's just a word of mouth preacher. Well, it's over the years we've been able to prove many preachers as charlatan, dishonest charlatans. Like Jimmy Swagger. You know, the few others I can't think of their names right, and Tom Baker. They are dishonest people. They are fucking liars. His word, he says, his word carries more weight than yours. I was like, only if he has documentation to back it up, because words don't mean shit. They don't mean a fucking thing. They're just words. There used to be a Christian publication. I don't remember the name of it, but it was like they used to post these, quote, miracle stories. Things that actually happen. But then when you look for secular documentation to back it up, there is none, because it's all a bunch of fucking lies. Now, you can continue to believe these assholes and follow these people, but they're not going to do anything for you. The only thing that they're going to do is try to tell you what they want you to think. And that's the basis of Christianity almost, is dishonesty. I'm sure the guy's pretty nice. Andrew Womack's probably a decent guy, but he's still a fucking liar. You know, he probably has even been able to convince his son that he brought him back from the dead. He was probably unconscious or in a coma or something. That story I would buy. That I would accept. But I cannot accept the supernatural explanation coming from a person who doesn't have anything to back it up with. A secular article would be glad, or a secular source would be glad to document something like that. Because it would be something that they would admit they were wrong on. They say, oh, okay, I guess Jesus does exist. But there's no documentation. That's because it never happened. You totally just don't even, you probably don't even know, most of you creatards probably don't even know anything about the Great Disappointment of 1844. And the year after that, he did the same fucking thing. The guy, oh, what the hell was his name? Whatever his name was. Anyway, he's a liar. A failed businessman, just like Ken Hovind. Ken Hovind is a failed businessman. He failed. He was a failed salesman. So he went and he got himself a degree in chemistry, and decided to use that as his platform, as if he was qualified to talk about shit he wasn't qualified to talk about. So just stop buying into the fairy tales, man. Stop buying into people's words. What if I told you that my parents were from fucking Venus? Would you believe me on my word alone? Fuck no. You would have to have it in your stupid fucking Bible in order for you to believe it. So, at this point, whatever you have to say is fallacious. Anything that creationists have to say is fallacious. Don't believe a fucking word they say, and don't let your kids be spoiled by them. Don't let your kids come in contact with Christians. They are liars. All of them. Muslims, liars. Christians, liars. And the only honest religious people from the Middle Eastern religions that I've ever come in contact are with the Jews. Like that's it. That's the only honest Middle Eastern religion. Well, at least the patrons are honest. Doesn't mean they're not violent, because they love fighting the Islamic crowd. But the whole point is that whatever you say without any kind of extra documentation, without anything outside of your Christian publications, outside of your Christian churches, your evangelical sources, and all that stuff. If it's not fucking there, it's not true. That's all I have to say about that. So you can call me an idiot because I don't believe your preacher. In fact, I would think that that would make me smart. That would make me an intelligent, critically thinking person that doesn't buy into pseudoscience and crazy fairy tales. Like I had said before, I will not refute the existence of a God because I can't. There is no proof to prove that God does not exist. But on the other hand, there is no proof to prove that God exists, that he does, or it, whatever you want to call God. It could be anything, a rock, maybe. But, apparently the Old Testament God is as dumb as a fucking, you know, blade of grass by itself, or whatever you want to say. He's fucking tart, man. While the earth is flat, the sky's a firmament, and you're locked inside a vault so you could never get to space unless you went through the firmament, which is surrounded by water. God damn, that's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard. Can't you people just grow up for a fucking second and stop? You don't believe in fucking Santa Claus. You don't buy into the Iliad as truth. You don't think the Epic of Gilgamesh is true. You don't think the Upanishads are true. All you think is true is the fucking Bible. But if you're going to buy into fairy tales, you might as well fucking accept all of it as being true. The Easter Bunny, Santa, fucking, like I said, the Upanishads, the Epic of Gilgamesh, all of those things. You have to accept all of that crazy philosophical bullshit if you're going to claim that your Bible is true, that your Bible is a factual source of information, written by 2,000-year dead savages, mind you. These people had no idea how to interpret the world outside of their philosophical boundaries. So, I guess other than agriculture and alchemy, certain really primitive forms of alchemy, the Bible really doesn't have anything that's useful in it, whatsoever. Jesus turned water to wine. Maybe he traded water for wine. But, back in those days, wine required water. And it was really bitter. It's what we call brandy wine, which in English means burnt wine. Because they burnt it. They let it ferment for so long that it burned. So they would add water to it to cut the sharpness, sweeten it up a little bit. So, whatever it is you have to say, stop using fallacious arguments to back it up, because it's utter shit.